core Java fundamentals will be covered as part of this class. And when I say fundamentals, core Java, which is specific to Selenium, that is what all are the core concepts which are required for us to drive Selenium successfully. Those concepts will be first described, and then we will gradually move on to Selenium, because core Java is the base for Selenium. Selenium is nothing but core Java. Okay, so once you learn core Java, you will understand how easy and efficiently you can use those techniques while you are automating your UI application. Okay, so that's all about it, guys. So this is the flow and the process and the structure on how we are going to go. Okay, so yesterday I'm just taking you to through a recap of what all we have discussed. Okay, so we have seen how a test case document looks like. So the test case document has all the test cases, okay, to test an application which will be derived and written by the manual test engineers. Okay, so each test case will have its own scenario. Okay, so each test case will test one particular set of functionality on an UI application. Okay, so we saw about that, and we saw what are test scenarios which are present in the test case document, and how a live application actually works in real time. Okay, so we took the example of SpiceJet here. If you remember, we took the example of SpiceJet and we saw a few examples on that SpiceJet application. Okay, and then how is the test case execution conducted manually? So once a test case document is getting executed, okay, what they have two columns at the end. One is the expected result and the actual result. Okay, so when the expected and actual result both pass, when you're executing it manually, both the outcomes remain same, that is the expected and the actual remain same, then it is a pass. If there is any deviation with the expected outcome from the actual outcome, okay, then it is stated as a fail scenario. Okay, so moving on, we have introduced ourselves to Selenium. So we've seen what are the advantages and what are the techniques and how flexible and robust it is when compared to QTP. Okay, so we have also seen the differences between Selenium and QTP. As I was saying, we saw the advantages of Selenium. Okay, and then we have seen what are the different categories in testing, which is again important: functional and non-functional testing, and why Selenium is called as functional automation tool. Okay, that also we have seen. Okay, why? Because Selenium does not concentrate on performance areas. Okay, so anything which concentrates on the performance areas of an application, it comes under the non-functional testing section. Okay, so but we actually deal with UI, so that is why we come under the functional automation category. Okay, so what are the different tools again available for functional automation and non-functional automation to automate all the different tools? We have seen the set of specific tools which are available. Okay, and why we chose Selenium out of all the other tools also we have seen. Okay, and then we have seen what is feasibility analysis. If you remember, as I said, manual test cases document will always be provided to us during the time of automation. When you are about to start automating your application, okay, the manual test engineers would have already done several rounds of their testing with their manual test cases. So you have to take those manual test cases from them and provide a feasibility analysis on what test cases can be automated. Okay, because if there are 50 test cases, as I said, all the 50 cannot be automated. There will be few challenges while automating few test cases. Okay, so those test cases should be ruled out in the feasibility analysis. So that feasibility analysis will be done at the initial stage. Okay, and then you have to give the test script estimates. Okay, so once you are done with the feasibility analysis, so in 50, let us say you conclude that 40 cases can be automated. Okay, then you're discussing about test script estimates. So when do we provide test script estimates? We will provide test script estimates after the feasibility analysis. Let us say out of 50, if we say 45 are automatable, okay, we have to give our estimates to our manager or our lead, saying that I'll take, based on the amount of complexity of the particular scenario, okay, you will provide the estimate. Let us say I can do 3 scripts or 4 scripts in a day. That is how we are going to provide the estimate. Okay, based upon your project deadlines, okay, you have to consider all that and give a decision. Okay, so now let's go back to our topics. Okay, before we proceed, okay, so these this is all the notes that I'm going to give you during your class. Okay, so all this documentation and everything, as you can see here, the entire documentation and everything will be shared with you in the further classes. Okay, so whatever we are going to discuss, I'll be distributing them to you, and I also have some sample resumes ready for you to take reference out of it. Okay, and we also have the interview questions which I personally handpicked, as I was involved in indulged in various interview panels. So what all interviews, actually what happens is during the interview, the questions, these Selenium questions and these Java questions, okay, these can come out even from the internet, but there will be some questions which are only answerable when you are in a real time situation. Okay, so those questions I'll be concentrating more. That is, when I am explaining, I want you to feel that you are already worked on Selenium, so that is how you're going to claim it. So when you say you put the Selenium experience in your resume, you should be in a position that you have already handled that in the real time. Okay, so that is our main core agenda here. So what will be those real time questions? Okay, and how to respond when there is something actually upon the real time environment, like how scripts are maintained in the real time. Okay, and what frameworks do they generally use in the real time approach. Okay, and what are the do's and don'ts when you're trying to answer a particular question. All these types of other sectors or other major areas which are actually important than answering these Selenium or Java questions, which people actually forget on. Okay, I will be concentrating and focusing on that as well. Okay, so let's go back to our class notes. Okay, so yesterday we have seen what automation was and what are the advantages of automation. Okay, and we saw what are the difference between Selenium and QTP. Okay, when to start automation for a project. Okay, so let's have a look at this. Okay, when can we start automation for a project? Okay, as I said, as soon as an application is delivered or deployed to you, you will not start testing. Okay, again, this will be, all these concepts will be a slightly new for those who are actually very familiar, not familiar with testing. Okay, I can see there are few people, okay, who are not familiar with testing as well. So try to concentrate on these sections more. Okay, so when to start automation for a project? When the application is stable, to save the regression testing time, we can go for automation. Okay, what that line actually mean? So he's saying that the application should be stable before we start any automation approach. Why? Because when I say application is stable, let us say, let us take the same spice sheet example. Okay, okay, so this is the spice sheet example. When this application is not stable, that is, you have started to write your code, okay, before this application is completely built. When I say stable, what it is, when I say stable, the application is completely built and it is working as expected. That is called as application being stable. Okay, so when you're trying to automate this, even before the application is stable, what happens after you write down your entire code? Okay, the developer team will bring in new changes to this application again. Okay, why? Because it was not yet stable. Okay, so you will see more properties aligned to it, more options given to it, and what happens, the code which you have written has to be rewritten, or you have to change the code completely altogether. Okay, so there what happened, actually your efforts got wasted in terms of coding. Okay, so when you're actually trying to code when you initially code something for an application, you put in a lot of efforts. Okay, so that effort should not be wasted. That is the reason, first you will wait for the application to get stable. So how you can conclude the application is stable? That will come from the functional testing team, that is the manual testing team. Once they do the round of testing, okay, and they once they already conduct testing for one build, okay, with their manual test cases, they conclude, they try to cover each and every functional scenario aspect of the application, and then they will conclude that the application is stable. Okay, so after that, that is why we will always start automating at the regression phase. Okay, I already discussed about what the regression testing means. Okay, so That is why when the test cases, manual test cases, which the functional automation team has written, if you see that the same test case is getting repeated in each and every consecutive build. Okay, so whenever they bring a new change to SpiceJet, okay, we have to retest it again. So during that retesting, what all the test cases are getting repeated, those test cases we will concentrate and we will try to automate them. Okay, in order to save the manual efforts. Okay. So if you are using agile process, let's come to the second point. If you are using agile process, that is the Scrum model, then we don't wait until the build is stable. The requirements, sprints, iterations are stable, then we can go for automation. Here again, these are agile waterfall model, okay? All these are different approaches, okay, which you choose for your particular project. If your project is a small to medium sized project application, you will go with waterfall, where each stage cannot be reversed or reiterated in the reverse order, okay? But agile is a very flexible methodology. Okay, so what this waterfall, agile, and all that, we will briefly have a look at it. Okay, but as of now, understand that agile is a very dynamic process or approach during the software development. So what they do is they try to automate it, because in agile we will divide all entire application in forms of components and we'll start testing it. So what they do is they try to start automating it. So what they do, you won't write the entire code when you're doing this. We don't wait until the build is stable. So what we do is we will write an estimated code or a blueprint. We will give a blueprint. Let us say the code which we write can easily be modified. We will write code or develop code in such a way that that code can accept changes in future. Okay, so that is how we are going to write code during the agile process when you're trying to automate it even before the build is stable. Okay, so all that you will get to know once we start coding. Okay, and the final point, what it is, we should have the budget approval mail from the client to start automating. Okay, actually, as you can see, what is this budget approval? First thing, see, automation engineers will not cost you the same for your organization, just like what the manual test engineers are going to cost, right? So you have to get the billing approved, okay, from the mail or the client. So what happens actually, uh, your company gets a project, okay, so there is a client who's funding your project, okay, so there will be a billing approval rate for the manual test engineers and the automation engineers on hourly basis. Okay, so your project client should be willing to automate it or provide that funding to an automation engineer, because automation engineers are skilled there's a skill involved in it, right? So so that skill doesn't come easily, so you have to have the budget approved also for that. So all these questions, don't think that they might not ask or this is just for theory purpose. No, these questions will also be asked in an interview. Okay, so when you go for an automation interview, okay, they might ask actually when do you start automating in. I've mentioned all these points here. Okay, so next is, what kind of application can be automated by using Selenium? Each and every concept which we are discussing here, even though it looks like a theory, guys, I'm sure that it will bounce back to you when you are attending an interview. Okay, so why? Because there are different stages of interview panels which will happen for you. That is, there will be a technical round and there will be a managerial round. Okay, and there will be a written test even before you get into the technical round. Okay, so these type of questions are actually targeted by the managers. Okay, so when do you start automating your process, or what kind of application can be used by Selenium? Because managers do not focus much on your technical skills, because you will be scrutinized about your technicality before you even go to the manager round. Okay, so all the questions, I have segregated all the questions and I have placed them in form of theory and practical questions. Okay, so everything which we go through here, okay, is useful. That is what I'm trying to say. Application can be automated by using Selenium. Okay, so we are using Selenium to automate something. What is that something? What exactly Selenium is? Okay, so simply the straightforward answer is Selenium supports all kinds of web applications and mobile application, irrespective of the language of which it is built. Okay, so simply saying, what is web application? anything that opens in your browser. Yesterday I've discussed that anything that is opening in your browser, that you can conclude it as a web application, just like your Spice Chat, your Facebook, Google.com, or whatever it is. All these are web applications. And Selenium can also automate mobile applications, the apps which you install in your mobiles, like uh, in your iPhone or Android. Okay, those can be automated using Selenium, but that covers a different segment, that comes under mobile automation, which doesn't fall under this course. Okay, so in this course we will be concentrating on automating web applications. Okay, so as you can see, Selenium supports all kind of web applications and mobile application, irrespective of the language which they have built. That is, if the architecture, let us say they have built this using .NET, Java, or whatever other architecture, we are not concerned about the architecture of what it is built upon. Okay, so then we can use any supported language to automate all the applications. As I said, Selenium again supports different programming languages, not just Java. Okay, Java is widely used with Selenium because Selenium was built with Java, so that is why most of the people use Java as a programming approach for Selenium. But Selenium is not the only programming language through which you can automate it. Okay, you can also use C Sharp, Ruby, Python, Perl, PHP. As you can see below, all the different types of programming languages. Okay, see Java, Perl, PHP, Python, Ruby, .NET, HTML. Okay, no matter what your web application is built on, it can be built on Java architecture, .NET, PHP, Cold Fusion, whatever it is, you can automate it using your Selenium. Okay, so I want to go up here. Okay, so this is a question for the people who have attended yesterday's class. I want you to answer this question. So Selenium supports all kind of web application and mobile application, but this is actually missing one area which QTP covers. What is that? Can you tell me?
Windows desktop application.
Yes, exactly. That's good. Yes. So QTP also automates desktop application, which Selenium doesn't. Okay. So that is one advantage of QTP over Selenium. Okay. So moving on, guys. So what is the automation strategy, approach, or automation lifecycle? Simply, you can call it as automation lifecycle to automate a project. Okay. So when we are doing this, okay, I am not specifically talking this for Selenium. Okay, understand? Okay, this is not for Selenium. Okay, this is to automate a project. So the tool can be either QTP, tool can be Selenium or Silk Runner or whatever, any other tools available in the market which your organization is trying to choose. But this is an automation life cycle to automate. When you're trying to automate a project, okay, what are the different steps which we try to perform on it? Okay, so before we jump into automation life cycle, okay, I want you to understand what is SDLC, that is software development life cycle. Okay, so once we see what is software development life cycle, we will get better understanding on what this automation life cycle is. Okay, so we'll go back. Okay, and we will, yeah, here it is. Okay, this is the software testing life cycle. Okay, so even before we come to this, we will have a look at software development life cycle. So what is software development life cycle? Okay, so basically when you are trying to build an application, okay, the organization has to follow a specific set of rules, okay, from which level it will be built. Okay, so your application is not just built like that. Okay, it has to follow a sequential procedure. That is, when I say a sequential procedure, you should know when there should be a testing phase involved. Okay, when there should be a developing phase involved, even before you start developing, what you have to do. Okay, all those different types of categories are mentioned in this software development life cycle. Okay, so here we are. Okay, see, as you can see, the software STLC. Why I am covering all this again is, guys, don't think that if you're going for an automation interview, okay, don't think that they'll ask you questions only specific to automation. No, when I was in the interview panel, I also saw that people give importance even to the manual concepts, because they just want to see whether you are aware of the manual concepts, because as I said, automation arrived from manual testing only. So once you know the concepts of what is like SDLC, what is the testing life cycle? Why? Because again you have to do some manual intervention even if you're doing automation. You say you found a bug. Okay, your code found a bug. So how do you report the bug again? Reporting the bug again follows the manual approach only. So you have to report that bug manually either in Zira or Bugzilla or Mantis, whatever bug tracking tools your organization is following. Okay, you have to report it manually again. Okay, so there is some manual intervention always required for you. So that manual testing knowledge will help you a lot. Okay, so you don't have to know each and every corner of what manual testing is, but knowing these, which we are going to cover in our class, is the very basic essentials and the fundamentals required. Okay, so when I say software development lifecycle, okay, what are the phases it consists of? It has requirement phase, analysis phase, design, coding, and testing. So always remember it like this, guys. Requirement, analysis and design sometimes can be put together and in one phase. Okay. So either they can be segregated or they can also be put together under one phase. Okay. That concludes requirement, analysis and design, coding, testing, delivery, and maintenance. So there are five. Typically, if you combine those two and three, there are five different phases in SDLC. I repeat again: requirement, analysis and design, coding, testing, and then delivery and maintenance. Okay, so our testing falls under the fifth phase over here. Okay, so let us just see. See the basic definition. So requirement phase. What happens in a requirement phase? Okay, in the requirement phase, as you can see, BA is responsible to collect all the requirements in the requirement template. As the name suggests, what we do in the requirement phase is we collect the requirements from the client or whoever is funding us to build that application. Okay, so we collect the requirements from the client, saying how does he want his application to perform. Okay, what application we are trying to build. Okay, what is the need and necessity to build that application. Okay, how the end users are going to consume that application when it is in the market. Okay, so all that will be covered in requirement phase. And in analysis phase, what do we actually do? We will actually try to analyze and interpret whether the requirements which we incurred from the client can be implemented, or during implementation what challenges can be faced, or if it is really possible to even implement what requirements that we took from the client. So all that will be analyzed during the analysis phase. And once we finally come to the conclusion that okay, these features which we got from the client can be automated and we can successfully deliver this project to the client. Once we get to that conclusion, we will start the design phase. Okay, so as I said, you will not directly jump into coding. Okay, so as soon as you get the requirements from the client, okay, I got the requirements, okay, I'll start coding. That is not how it's going to happen. There will be an intermediate phase between getting requirements and coding, that is design phase. In the design phase, the BA will sit with the stakeholders, okay, and together as a team, they will come up with an approach of a blueprint, of designing a blueprint. That is, what all techniques or coding techniques they have to implement, okay, to in order to build this project. Okay, which platform they are going to choose to build this project. Okay, and what is the hierarchy structural elements that they are required to develop that particular project. Everything, all that gathering will be done during the design phase, and they will come to a conclusion that okay, we are going to use this platform. Okay, this is the server. Okay, everything will be concluded in the design phase, and then finally once the approach to build your application is freezed, okay, then they will move to the coding phase. Okay, in the coding phase, whatever they have analyzed and segregated during the design phase, that is, they already have the blueprint in their hand. Okay, so using those approaches or those concepts and the templates which they build during the design phase will be used and actually implemented in the coding phase. Okay, so now the coding phase is done, then comes our actual area where we are going to be involved in this SDLC, that is the testing phase. Okay, so once coding is done, that means that we have something to test in our hands. Okay, it will be deployed. Okay, so once it's deployed, even before, what is the actual cause of testing? we test the application before it even reaches the hands of end users. Okay, before the application goes live, okay, it is our responsibility as a tester to test the application thoroughly and to identify any bugs or any deviations from the requirement documents given to us. Okay, that is the main purpose of testing. Okay, so during this testing phase, what we do is we come together as a team. So as we have a testing team involved in it. Okay, so we will take the call on what the approach is. So we will take the call on what the approach is. Okay, okay, yeah. As you can see here, this is what I was talking about. Testing team is also responsible to review the SRS documents. For reviewing, if there are any those will be uploaded in the document. So don't worry about all this. All this is given in detail. Okay, this is actually for the manual testing course which I have designed this. Okay, but since we are actually at the automation phase, okay, I'm actually giving for you to understand manual. Anyways, I'll upload this document through each and every line, okay, whenever you find time, so that you will understand this better. I'm just giving you a high level introduction of what all these phases are. Okay, so because to cover everything, okay, the time won't be sufficient, and this is not our actual agenda. Okay, we actually have to focus more on automation. Okay, so what is the testing phase? Coming to the testing phase, this is where you will verify all the functional requirements. Okay, whether the code which the developers have built have are actually what to say, they are going together with the requirements or not, or if there are any deviation, has the development team built the application thoroughly after going through the specifications or not. Okay, so if you find that the build or the module which is given to you, okay, doesn't have the features which actually the client requires, okay, so that is when you will come up with questions asking whether this is an expected scenario or this is not. Okay, so then the BA, you will discuss with the BA. As you can see here, BA is responsible to review all unclear requirements. Okay, and he will provide clarifications and update the review report. Okay, so once you go through all the requirement specifications and you check the code which is given to you, you feel that there are some deviations. Okay, so then at that initial phase, you will have a discussion with BA and say that I can see there are few deviations in the requirements. So what this is this expected or is this not? So then the BA will take a call on that and he will conclude or update the document. Okay, so then you will go through your regular testing flow. Okay, so that we have already seen. We have seen what a test case document is, how you will actually maintain a test case document and all that. Okay, so quickly let's now jump into software testing lifecycle. Okay, see here it is. What is software testing lifecycle? So in the SDLC, in the fifth phase, you saw testing, right? The analysis, okay, design, coding, and then comes our testing, right? So after that, in that phase, in that testing phase, what exactly are the different steps which we are going to follow or elaborated here in this software testing life cycle? Okay, so the first one is software test plan. Okay, then is the software test. Just like how the developers don't directly jump into coding, okay, they do have their own standards before they start coding. Even that is the same for testing as well. We do not directly start testing an application when it is given to us. We have to abide and follow these rules. That is, the first one is create a software test plan. Okay, test design. Okay, after you create a plan, you create a test design, and then once the test design is completed, in this test design phase only, you will have the test case document ready. So you will actually create the test case document during this test design step. Okay, then the test execution. Okay, you will execute whatever you have designed. Okay, and then the result analysis. Okay, well, after execution, you will obviously have results in place. So you will analyze the results. That is, what is analyzing the results? Comparing your actuals with expected. Okay, then you will report the defects. If you find any deviation between actual result and expected result, you will report them. Okay, then finally it is delivery and maintenance. Okay, you have to maintain these test cases and documents of whatever you have done during your testing period. Okay, you have to maintain all those documents in a shared repository or whatever approach which your organization is going to use. Okay, that is so that you can pick up those test cases later when required and you can reuse them. Okay, so that is delivery and maintenance. So finally, test summary report, and the when the product is finally going out for release or live, you can finally provide them the test summary report on how much testing was actually done on that particular project. Okay, so this is on a high level what is software testing lifecycle and software development lifecycle. Okay, so now with this knowledge in mind, we will get back to our document and see what is automation lifecycle. Okay, yeah, here it is. So automation approach. So automation lifecycle, or you can call it. See, first point is check that whether the application is compatible or not with the tools. Okay, so we are now going to use Selenium as a tool. Okay, so when an application is given to us, okay, so and they are asking us to automate it. First, they are asking us to automate it with a particular tool. So first we have to check whether the application which is given to us is automatable using the tool or not. Okay, why? Because if they give you a desktop tool and they suggest that you automate it using Selenium, can you do it? No, that doesn't fall under your feasibility. So our first and foremost step is that we have to conclude whether it can be automated or not. Okay, and the second step, execute or review all the test cases at least once to get the functional knowledge on the application and also to identify the test cases which are feasible for automation. As I said, you will have all the manual test cases in place for you. Okay, so what you have to do is you have to do one round of execution manually. You have to read each and every test case and try to execute each test case manually. So when you're trying to execute the test cases manually, for example, one test case is that I have to click on this one way button and this drop down, there should not be two dates to select from. Okay, when I say round trip, there should be two dates to select. When I say one way, there should be only one date to select. Okay, so when I'm doing this manually, I will get an idea in my mind whether this can be automated or not, and also I will get an idea on how long this scenario might take for automation. Okay, so that is the reason we actually have to understand and get the functional knowledge also while automating it, so that we can conclude on how much time that could take to automate and also whether it can be automated or not. Okay, that also we can judge by reading the functionality of the test case and executing it manually. Okay, so then provide the automation estimation for all the identified test cases. Okay, as I said, the estimation should always be provided. Okay, in how many number of days you can automate the test cases. Okay, so developing POC and delivering it to the client. Okay, so what is this? Okay, so your client says that okay, we have to automate the test cases. Okay, we have to reduce the manual effort, we have to come up with an automation approach. Okay, so then what you do is you will try to first, you will not automate all the 40 test cases and then you will not go up to your client and say that see, I have automated all the test cases and you can see the results. Okay, so that is not which is done in the real time. So what the client will do, client, when he decides to go with automation, you have to first automate 2 or 3 scenarios with whichever tool is feasible, and then you have to show it to the client like this is how I have taken the approach to automate the test cases which are suitable for our build or for our application. So then client will take a call. If the client feels that yes, the automation approach which we have taken is clean, and if he feels that this can be implemented to the other projects as well, then what he will say that is okay, go ahead with this approach and automate the other test cases as well. Okay, so first we have to take that call, and we have to discuss that with the client by automating 1 or 2 sample scenarios. Okay, so if he gives us the approval, then we can start automating all the other test cases as well. Okay, then prepare or identify the framework for the identification of framework. Okay, when we are trying to automate any project, okay, it involves coding. Okay, so when I say coding, there will be different frameworks available for you to start coding with your project. Okay, so we have to choose which framework is more suitable for automating the particular application. Okay, so which framework is decided upon your testing team. Okay, so your testing team takes a call on that. Okay, so your leads and managers will be involved in taking those decisions. Okay, so then develop the script for all the identified test cases. So you have now identified which framework should be used for your entire project as well. So then what is developing the scripts using the framework approach. Okay, so once the scripts are stable, then integrate in hierarchical order to execute. Okay, so once what happens, you have to when you're developing a script, okay, you have to dry run each script. We call it as dry run. That is, you have to execute each script and you have to see whether the scripts are working as expected or not. So once you feel that all the scripts are working as expected, you will start arranging them in a hierarchical order to execute them as a suite. Okay, test suite. Okay, then if any new build released upon the scripts as per the new build. Okay, so if there is any new build, as I said, so there might be changes. Okay, so this is the spy shed. Okay, so tomorrow what happens is they have introduced a new tab here. Okay, so what happens, or they change, now the tab name is login. Tomorrow they have changed the name of this tab to simply they say log. Okay, so what happens in that case is you have to enter the code wherever this login tab functionality is there, right? You have that particular test script, right? You have to enter into that particular test script and change the property of this particular tab. Okay, that is what you have to do. So that is this point. If any new build released, update the scripts as per the new build. So according to the new build, if there are any changes, update your particular scripts. Okay, that falls under maintenance of your script as well. Okay, so execute the scripts and capture the results in a new folder. So what is the sole purpose of execution? It is to extract reports, right? What is the proof of testing? Proof of testing is also again reports. So when the clients ask you whether you have tested this particular area, how can you tell them? You cannot just give them verbal agreement saying that yes, I have tested this area. You have to have some proof of concept in your hand. That is nothing but reports. Okay, so execute the script and capture the results in a new results and identify the bugs. Once you have the reports, you can analyze the reports and start identifying the bugs. Okay, and then once you have feel that there are few bugs in the application, how will you again update those bugs? So you have to report the bugs manually to the developers by any reporting tool like Bugzilla, QC, and Jira. So as you can see, this is a very important line, report the bugs manually. So you can see that even though we are following the automation approach, manual testing concepts are always important. Okay, so because there is some part of a manual test engineer portion which you always have to play when you are in testing. Okay, so then with that, I'll quickly state the different components which are available in Selenium and we will conclude today's class. Okay, so Selenium components. Okay, so finally we have decided to use Selenium. Okay, why? Because Selenium is more robust and flexible than QTP. Every organization which is using QTP is currently moving towards Selenium. Okay, we discussed why and what are the advantages and all that. Okay, so now when I say Selenium, what are the different components that Selenium holds? Okay, imagine Selenium as a toolbox. Okay, Selenium is like a toolbox. Okay, so once you open the toolbox, you will find different tools inside the toolbox, right? Like a wrench, spanner, or whatever it is. Okay, so what are the different tools which are available inside the toolbox or these components? Okay, so Selenium alone is not powerful. What makes Selenium powerful is these components. The tools which are available in the toolbox are more important. So when I say Selenium, I am talking about all these components. Okay, so what are the different components available in Selenium? There are 5 major components of Selenium. That is, first one is Selenium IDE, that is integrated development environment. Okay, then Selenium RC, okay, Selenium Grid, Selenium WebDriver, and finally Selendroid and APM. Okay, Selenium, we will see each and every component, what each and every component can do. Okay, and which component we are currently using to automate. Okay, what is the purpose and justification of other components? Everything we will see in the coming classes. Okay, So remember this, these 5 components are always important. This is almost asked in every interview. They will ask you, what are the different components of Selenium, or they might also ask you, can you they will name a component in Selenium and they will ask you to explain. Okay, all these are very basic and very important for you to know before you start automating. So what are the different components? There are always 5 components in Selenium, that is IDE, RC, Grid, WebDriver, Selendroid, and APM. Okay, so that's it, guys. So we will meet in tomorrow's class. Okay, so before I conclude, if there are any doubts, you guys can let me know. And before we drop off, I want you to let me know what all the topics that we have covered today. Okay, so this is a daily practice which I will follow each and every day, so that you can recall while telling me the topics, you can actually recall what we discussed today. So can you guys quickly tell me what we have discussed today?
We discussed about the manual process.
Okay, that is SDLC, software development lifecycle, right? And we have also discussed about software testing lifecycle. Okay.
And then automation, how we can automate.
Yeah. Automation lifecycle, right? Okay. And when do we start automating?
And also,
right?
we discussed about the Selenium and Selenium, what we can say, tools.
Components.
Yeah, components or tools.
Yeah. We have seen what is Selenium components. Okay. Okay. Fine. Anything else I have missed, guys? Anyone else has to add something to this? Okay.
What kind of application can be automated?
Okay, that falls under feasibility analysis, right? We saw that yesterday itself. Okay. Okay. Fine then. Okay, so we have discussed about the major and important concept segments today. That is SDLC, STLC, and we have also seen when we can automate it, when to start automation, and we have seen the different components of Selenium, right? From tomorrow, we'll start off with each and every component. I'll start discussing each and every component of Selenium, and then we will start using one of the component. Okay, that is Selenium IDE in our coming classes. Okay, guys?
Yeah, I have a few questions before you leave.
Yes, please.
I don't know if I can ask with all participants or alone. I'm not sure. Because I'm looking for advanced course, which includes more all frameworks and everything.
Okay.
And TestNG, Jenkins.
Okay. So have you gone through our course content actually? So let me take you through the course content once. Okay. Yeah. Here it is. So actually, this will be shared by the our team, our technical Naresh team will be sharing this with you. Okay, so you can go through the course content. I guess the latest course content is not yet updated in the internet. Okay, so whatever you're looking for, as
I'm not, because IDE and RC, it's not actually, no one is using these days.
Yes.
Yeah, so I don't want to waste my time.
Got it. So, but let me tell you, if you don't know what IDE and RC is, okay. So in my course content,
I have an idea. But
so we will not be drilling more about what IDE and RC is much. Okay. So when you see in my course content as well, we are directly after IDE, we are starting with Selenium 2.0 and 3.0. 3.0 is the current version which we are using to automate the test cases. Okay, so the test scripts are written using Selenium 3.0 version of WebDriver. Okay, but before I even go to 3.0 WebDriver, I can directly teach you with 3.0 WebDriver's version. But I'll also introduce to 2.0 version, because then you will understand the version change, what changes have been brought from the previous version to the current version.
Okay, but no one is anybody is using currently 2.0? No, right?
No, 2.0 is not used by anyone currently.
Okay.
Yeah, we will be using 3.0 to automate.
So do you say this is not updated topics listed here? So there is an updated one?
Yeah, what I'm showing to you is the updated one. So what all the frameworks which you asked, here are the frameworks. Okay. So the different frameworks which we are going to cover would be modular framework, data-driven framework, keyword-driven framework, hybrid framework. Okay, we will see what these frameworks are and how they are used in the real time as well.
Okay. So I didn't see the
And
page objects module.
yeah, POM also will be covered as part of this framework only. Okay, so as I said, the core Java fundamentals. Okay,
Okay.
here it is, all the core Java fundamentals which we are going to actually use to understand what Selenium is, and only when you have the core Java fundamentals with you, you can proceed with Selenium. Okay, then what is the JUnit framework, as you said, and here's the TestNG framework which you asked for. Okay, and
So
here.
are you guys also introduced Jenkins?
Yes, yes,
Also?
those falls under the advanced concepts. Okay, we will not drill down much on Jenkins and what Mavens and all that, but we will definitely have a look on how to implement Maven and how to I mean integrate the Maven with our Jenkins. Okay, because that much is only required for us as automation engineers, because all these are CI/CD models, deployment tools. Okay, which are mostly used by the developers. Okay, so we
Okay.
will concentrate more on the coding part and the framework area. Okay, on where how to use the frameworks, that is POM model, as you said. Okay, and hybrid framework. Okay, data driven concepts. Okay, and then finally I will show you what the Maven is currently and why we are using Maven currently in our industry, and what is the Jenkins and why we actually integrate our code with Jenkins, what is the use of using Jenkins and all that. Okay, is there anything else that you feel that is actually missing here, or you wanted to know?
I'm also interested Cucumber
Yeah,
and also Jerkins to
yeah,
know, because I'm being a lead in most of the projects it's involved.
yes.
I don't know if you have an advanced or just you will include in this. Um,
Okay.
Also, it's
First
good
of all,
to know
first of all,
mobile.
coming to Selenium, okay, this is not like core Java where we have core Java basic, core Java advanced. Okay, there won't be multiple courses for Selenium. Okay, when we say Selenium, we try to cover each and every scenario and concept which is being used widely by the real-time organizations. Okay, so
Okay.
anything and everything which is used as part of Selenium in real-time organizations will be covered as part of this course.
Okay.
And once this
So
course is concluded, you can easily I can give an assurance that 2 years of experience can be claimed, saying that I have worked on Selenium before. So that is the level of expertise that you can have after getting concluded with this course.
you make perfect. Everyone can write scripts, JavaScripts.
Obviously, so that is our main agenda, right? So
Okay,
once we
I
are,
have one more question, because there is a two projects. Some projects they're using just a Java, using a Selenium. Some other projects they're using a JavaScript. What is the difference between?
yes, JavaScript, there is a difference in the language, right? So Java and JavaScript and C, as I said, if you are comfortable with C sharp, you go ahead and do it with C sharp. Okay, which programming language you are comfortable with, you can start automating it. But in some areas you can use JavaScripting as well, because JavaScripting deals good with areas like HTML context, because all the areas which you are trying to automate are dealing with HTML context, right? So if I try to inspect this, as you can see, all are HTML context which we will try to deal upon. So
So
JavaScript,
finding XML and what is the
what
CSS
I'm trying to say
stuff.
is JavaScript is actually efficient, more efficient than Java, but you don't use JavaScript everywhere. Okay, so basically Java is the prime language which you use to automate your programming. Okay,
So
so
using a Selenium, we need to know both perfectly Java and JavaScripts, because
no,
for the
no,
application we don't know where
no,
we
it is not mandatory for you to know JavaScript and Java. Okay, so even if that is the case, you can never you can never say I am an expert in Java. Okay, because Java is an ocean, as I said. Okay, but what are the concepts you need as part of Java? Okay, as you can see, this is only 15 to 20% or 20 to 25% of Java, your core Java fundamentals. Okay, if you want to learn your Java, your lifetime won't be sufficient, because Java is a huge topic, huge concept. As you go on digging it, you will find more and more. So you need to know where to stop and where to end. If you don't know that line of where to start and where to end, you will be lost in Java itself, and you will never cope up with Selenium. Okay, so know only those concepts which are required.
So
Okay,
you will teach us Java concepts which we can use in real life and using a Selenium in application.
that
And also you will teach us JavaScripts which we can implement, right?
yeah, JavaScripts. I will actually tell you at what scenarios you might use JavaScript, because you can handle the approaches or scenarios without JavaScript also. Okay, so your organization maybe at some parts they are using JavaScript, but if you look at it this way, there are multiple approaches and ways where you can handle your if you are stuck anywhere. Okay, Java gives you multiple ways through which you can handle that scenario.
Okay,
JavaScript is not
so
the
you
only way.
do you cover all languages to get an
No.
idea like a C# and other
That
languages?
is not possible in any course. How can someone cover all
Because
programming languages?
because
Right?
all these days everybody's asking something. They comes up like, hey, do you familiar with the C# and because it's included everything. They're not just asking simple basic stuff these days. If they want, if we put outside Selenium resume, they are expecting everything.
Okay. So, but once you know the fundamentals of a programming language, you have to, what changes from programming language to language? The fundamentals won't change. The syntax would change. Okay. So if you're using OOPS concepts here, even C# uses, it is built on object-oriented programming only. But what changes there? The syntax changes. Java uses a different syntax. C# will use different syntax. That is why when you're going to an interview, the organization if the organization is using Java to automate it, okay, so they are comfortable with Java. If they say I'm using C# to automate it, you have to verify whether you are comfortable with C# or not. Okay, but if you're not comfortable, you can tell them that you are good with Java. Okay,
Hello?
So
but
when do you
that is
determine, like, when do you think when you are working on application, when do you decide like we need to implement and using the QTP also simultaneously using the Selenium?
yes, as I said. So if you have more desktop approach, or if you're trying to automate a desktop application, you can go with QTP. Or if you think that you're going to automate a web application and there is no desktop intervention in it, so then you can go with Selenium. But again, I'm not telling you that and web application can only be automated with Selenium. It can be also automated with QTP. But QTP is a licensed tool, right? But Selenium is an open source tool. So that is why also organizations are moving towards Selenium, whereas it is open source and much more powerful than QTP. Whereas QTP is a licensed tool. Okay. So when an organization is purchasing license for a particular tool, they will also determine whether they have that usage for purchase or not.
But some
Okay,
projects
that
they're
is how.
using both QTP and also the Selenium. I was wondering and what how they're implementing application using it both tools, and what
Yes.
areas they're actually using a QTP and what areas they're using it. I have an idea, but I was wondering why they are still using QTP.
And sometimes what happens is there should be migration happening. Okay, let us say in your organization, your application was an old school application. Okay, and during that time, they have developed the scripts using QTP as a tool. Okay, so they have those test cases in place. So now suddenly what happens, as the new builds come and new approaches are in place, okay, they have started Selenium in the middle. So what happens? Migration should happen. All the old test scripts which are written in QTP has to be migrated to Selenium. So that is why even in organizations where I have worked, okay, the older applications which were in place when they have automated using QTP still remains in QTP, because it takes time for them to migrate those scripts into Selenium. Okay, because you have to convert these QTP scripts into Selenium, and you have to dry run those in Selenium again, and you have to verify they are working in Selenium. Only then you can finally move from QTP to Selenium. So overnight you cannot just bring up a new tool and tell that, okay, what all we automated previously using QTP, we will now do it using Selenium. No, that cannot be done because there will be hundreds of test cases which are written using QTP already. So in that cases, what happens for all the new approaches or the new test cases which are coming in place, they will use Selenium, and for all the old scripts, they will keep using QTP as long as they can.
So do
So,
you, good, thank you, thanks. And
yeah.
do you also give us a knowledge about the GitHub and Git for the
Yeah,
use code?
all those comes under central repository. Basically, every organization uses central repository to maintain the scripts, right? So that is what I've written here. SVN integration, just introduction. We can just go through an introduction of what GitHub is, why we are actually using SVN and all that in our organization. Okay, but we will not be seeing them in. We will not implement those in our agenda here. That is not our agenda to implement GitHub or SVN and show it to you how
But
you check in the
do
code.
you really show the real time projects after some time?
We will directly work on real time applications. There is no need for you need to see a real time project as well. We will directly start working on applications like SpiceJet, Amazon. Okay, I will give you scenarios only related to real time applications. Okay,
Real time
so
applications means just installing Eclipse and installing all this WebDriver, Selenium, and working on the real time applications, or
yeah, then without Eclipse and WebDriver, all that, how are we actually going to code? We really need
yeah,
Eclipse and
that's
all
what
that, right?
I was asking. So, is there any hands-on work you are going to give us?
Obviously. See,
Okay.
end of each and every session, I will ask students to send their code. If I worked on one example that day, okay, I will ask them to send that particular code to me. And once I receive the code, I will go through the code so that once you actually do hands-on only, you will get to know what are the errors, where are you actually not able to manage, and then those issues will be discussed in the next day's class. Okay, and then only I'll start with I'll continue my class. Okay, because I'll take that very strictly, because that is my consideration. Once an example is done, I will suggest the students to send that example which we worked on that day, and so that I can go through their code. Okay, so this will be a daily practice once we start automation.
Okay,
Okay.
so is this a demo classes? Is this demo now or just a real time classes?
Yeah, this is a demo class. We will have the demo classes for few more days going forward. Okay, then we will actually start our real classes. Okay, as you can see here, all these are the each and every day. Once I'm done with my program, I will upload these programs in the drive so that you can refer them and you can actually implement the practice example which I will be giving you each day. Okay.
So
So Selenium,
you also teach us how we can work on frameworks, how we can create the frameworks, right?
yes, how the frameworks are implemented, all the POM framework which you talked about, hybrid framework. Okay, all these we will talk about the frameworks, and then we will first use a basic approach on how we will script, and then after the basic approach, we will move on using the frameworks. What is the framework? Okay, all that we will discuss. Definitely, we will discuss in a coming classes. Okay.
Okay.
So if you can go through the course content, okay, in that if you
Can you send me if you don't mind, because I didn't attend the last class. So if you don't mind, you can send me course content and whatever you covered. I don't need the manual other stuff,
yes,
but just a
yes.
course content. Each and every day what you are going to cover in this
Yes,
course.
yes. As you can see, Naresh Technologies executive said that we will
Also,
share it.
can you introduce yourself, because I don't have any idea. I was not in the
Sure,
previous class.
sure. Okay, actually, I have 6+ years of experience in automation as of now. I have worked on both automating using Selenium, and I have also into web services automation as well. Okay, so my expertise lies with manual testing, Selenium, and web services. Okay, so we also automate web services using Java. So SOAP and REST services are automated using Java. So that is my current experience, and I have worked in multiple organizations. Okay, so that is why I know in how each organization is actually implementing Selenium, and what it is, and how in real time we will actually tackle with situations while
You
going.
also, okay, sorry, go ahead. You
Yeah, yeah,
mentioned the .NET. So have you ever used a .NET in Selenium?
What is .NET again?
No,
That
you
is
just mentioned
right?
because a platform and Java I know, but I never have heard about people used it on .NET application. They did the
What
same.
is the architecture language for .NET?
VB-script.
VB Script, C Sharp. So all those, as I said, so all those VB Script or C Sharp there for .NET.
You're asking me question?
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know about the C Sharp.
Yeah, it originates from C Sharp. So as I said, you can automate it using different languages like C Sharp and all the other architectures, right? So it's totally based on the company perspective. If your company is using actually Java, but trust me, I have been into multiple organizations, and each and every organization, mostly the test engineers conclude Java as their programming language and approach for automating. Okay, why? Because as I said, Java is widely used for Selenium, and why we use Java is you can frequently find the solutions for Java. Like if you, let us say, if you're stuck anywhere while you're trying to implement a scenario, just try to type the scenario in Google and see in which language they will give you the suggestions. Okay, they most of the time, 90 or 80% of the time, you will get the results only in Java. Why? Because Java is the only language which is widely used for Selenium. Okay, so only the concepts and the things which are used in real time and only the widely used approaches
I
will
know
only be
that's what I
as
was
part.
wondering when you said .NET. I never heard.
Yes, yes, yes. So
Okay, that's
only
fine.
those which are widely used will be covered as part of our course. So somewhere in one or two cases or one or two scenarios, some organization might be using something else. But this is not organization specific. Any course anywhere you go will not be organization limited to your organization or an organization. We will cover everything which is used widely in the market today. Yeah. Okay then. Thank you all. Please join on time from tomorrow so that we can conclude on time. Yeah. Thanks for joining.